Ready.
Welcome to my next I keep on saying it's Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue on malcolmpresents.com. And I'm Malcolm Berman, and this is Deborah Manning, my co-host of the show, and we talk about anything and everything.
Everything.
And we
Hey, Malcolm, how are you today?
we agree on a lot of things and disagree. Basically politics, but not really.
Yep. Well, let me tell, my name is Deborah Manning, and I'm a native Californian, an ex-news reporter, used to work for National Public Radio, PBS, and a number of major stations in Los Angeles. Moved out to South Carolina 5.5 years ago. Came here sight unseen, had done my information, all my research, thanks to the internet, and realized that South Carolina is the new blending for the middle class. And I am solidly middle class. Never made it to the big top, but what the heck, who knows? But at any rate, we're experiencing the normal weather here in the South. And the normal weather here in the South is that we'll go up to, for example, about 97 degrees, but the feels like temperature with the humidity, we're up at 107, 108 degrees. So a lot of people have asked me, how in the world have you been able to cope being a native Californian with that type of a temperature range? And of course, I point out Portland. I guess Portland, because we have some friends in Portland, are having actual temperatures of 100 degrees plus. But we survive strictly because we take out our little inflatable spa from our basement. We set it up, and it's just like a kiddie tub, but it's perfect, and it's so doggone hot that we literally don't have to put the heater on. It stays this balmy 82 to 85 degrees the entire summer.
As I asked you before, because you were late to start the show, because you and Fish were in the tub. And I was
my fish is my husband, everybody. Fish is not a fish.
Right.
Fish is my husband.
And I was just wondering, are you in the tub au naturel with Fish? I know I'll embarrass you. I know you turn it's great because of your complexion. You turn a bright red.
Well, after all,
you don't have to answer.
After all, he is my husband.
Right.
So.
But anyhow, when I spoke to you earlier and today, to touch base before the show, you had mentioned you had a scare with your cats. What happened?
Well, fortunately, we were able to buy a house here in South Carolina, and one by one, we came across the country in a 16-foot Penske truck and a Honda Element. We had 2 cats with us at the time. Unfortunately, both of them, who were fairly on in years, passed away within about a year after we moved here. And oddly enough, one by one, each one of these cats have shown up. They were all foundlings. They came to our doorstep. And of course, now that we have a home, how can you turn them down? So our last one that came in was a big cat by the name of Sylvester. And Sylvester looks exactly like the cartoon Sylvester of Sylvester and Tweety.
Ergo, that's why you named him Sylvester.
That's right. And he's a great big old cat. He is a tuxedo cat, black and white, and he rules the roost. He is the one that keeps all of the feral cats out of the neighborhood, and he makes sure that the squirrels obey the rules, which is not eating bird feed and not tormenting people and all of that. So he goes up and down. He's got a range of about 6 or 7 homes up and down and what have you. And we call them in every night at around, say, 10 o'clock. And at around 10 o'clock, because it's so hot during the day, they come in. In fact, right now he's downstairs with Smitty, his little nephew, sleeping because it's nice and cool. But to make a long story short, at 10 o'clock last night, he shows up. And of course, he doesn't want to come in because it's beautifully balmy, and especially the fireflies are out, and it's a beautiful balmy evening. We've just had a big thunderstorm, so it's absolutely delightful here. Well, he decides that he doesn't want to come in. Okay, no problem. Well, he didn't come in the entire night. So of course we were obviously a little bit concerned because we are far enough away from the city that we have coyotes and foxes and all of that. And we want to keep track of all of the cats. needless to say, we ended up calling and calling and calling. And finally, we went up about 6 houses up and decided, wait a minute, we got to think this thing through. Where could he possibly be? Well, we realized that where he was, I know this sounds ridiculous. I know this sounds really ridiculous. He was hanging out with his girlfriend Julia, big black fluffy cat, and they were hanging out underneath our neighbor Brenda's house. And the only reason we know that is because Brenda had texted me saying, I'm a little concerned. I don't know where Julia is. And I said, I'm a little concerned. I don't know where Sylvester is. So like two cat moms, we're of course very, very concerned about it. We ended up calling for another hour, hour and a half. And finally, Sylvester pops his head up. Yeah, what do you want?
Right. I hope he's a spade cat.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Yes. Does he know it?
Well, no, he doesn't, and that's fine. I didn't want to break it to him, but at any rate, all
I feel like
ends,
breaking into a song. It's make believe ballroom time. That was the old Martin Block show on in New York.
Yeah, I love it. So everything's fine. We're expecting another group of storms now coming in.
But you were talking about middle class, about the middle class moving out of Santa Barbara. So I'm going to be celebrating my 27th anniversary with my, on 911 with Anna. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So I don't want to travel. She was thinking either New York or Hawaii, and I'm sort of hesitant because of what's happening. I don't know if I want to go. I don't know if I want to go sightseeing.
You worried about what are you worried about?
The COVID,
yeah,
and it's the Delta, and also what might not be. I might not be protected against. I mean, right now, supposedly we are, but who knows? I mean, this is is another month, so I don't know. The Lambda or whatever the hell it is. But anyway, I was checking out some of the hotels up in Santa Barbara.
Yes.
There's a new hotel called the Rosewood Miramar. I used to go to the Miramar Hotel that they knocked down in Montecito.
Yes.
And it was a very nice hotel. And I forgot who took it. It was T. Schrager, I think. I used to go Club 52 in New York. Yeah. Do you know how much a night is there?
Well, actually, I would venture a guess you may be looking at $400 to $475 per night. What is it?
$2,500 a night.
That's a little ridiculous. Now, I must say that it's in keeping with the 700 square foot duplex that we shared, and we were paying $2,300 a month.
$2,500 a night.
Yeah, that's.
And then because of course I was looking up on the internet on my computer, I've been getting these hotels. So I got something from the Ritz-Carlton.
Oh,
Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
$2,600 a night.
I'm sorry.
It's either something that I'm out of it. I mean, I always thought, like you said, $400 or $500 a night would be, boy, that's expensive.
Sure.
I don't know if I told you this hotel, speaking at the Ritz-Carlton, back in the late 60s, I think it's the late 60s, where there was a railroad strike in Manhattan or New York, and I was working for WNEW-TV, so they kept their personnel that didn't live in Manhattan, they got them hotel rooms. Okay. So I got a hotel room in the Ritz-Carlton, which I shared with one of the editors. I don't know, Ben Fody, if you're listening, I don't know if you remember this, but it was just me and him, and some other people had other rooms. And for me, I was used to the Catskill Mountains. I'm a kid. I was in my early 20s. I never really is a classy hotel. The Catskills. The more you paid for a room, the bigger the bedroom was. Mm-hmm. I walk into this room, this hotel room at the Ritz. It was a formal living room with a couch, a love seat, a fireplace, a hanging chandelier.
Wow.
And then they had also a dining room, separate dining room.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, there must be a pull-out sofa there because a Castro, because I didn't see a bed. No, I go into the next room. it's a bedroom with two large king-size beds that dwarfed the room. Oh my God, I wanted the strike to last forever.
There you go.
But
There you go.
it was only 2 days I stayed there. But that was my introduction to real hotel rooms.
I love it. Well, I posted something on Facebook. I don't know whether you saw it or not. And it was a very, very serious question. And it was asking all Biden voters to
Also, yeah.
assess the accomplishments of the Biden presidency. We're now what, about 6 months in, and I was a little bit surprised. I got a lot of comments back from obvious Trump supporters, what have you, and I asked them to be still because that has nothing to do with anything at this point right now. I really wanted to get some sort of a gauge as to their satisfaction with Biden. Incidentally, who just jumped up is Max. That's our little baby boy at this point. Max, come over here. Sit down, please. Good boy. So I'm going to ask you as a Democrat, what are your thoughts about the Biden presidency? What accomplishments are you feeling good about or not?
Well, I feel good about that he's set certain things straight, like with us and how we relate to the rest of the world.
Okay.
And I think he's sort of like our allies. I think he's gotten back in the fold, like the NATO or the around the country, around the world, that they know what to expect from the United States. It's not like off the hip type of policies that our former president did. And I think he got us into, which I'm a firm believer in, again, the Paris Accord.
Mm-hmm.
And I think NATO is very important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And he sort of got us on the right track. Certain things, like the economy is okay. I'm not an economist, but everybody says, oh, it's going to go down the tube. It's not. The inflation is kind of high. It's getting up there. But as far as the economy goes, in the stock market, which everybody was, praising Trump for, stock market has been steady. I think it reached its highest point yesterday. I don't know what the hell that was because I'm sort of, so far out of it. I'm disappointed in, well, number one, what's happening now.
What do you mean?
With Afghanistan. He was between a rock and a hard place there. If he didn't pull out, people will say, oh, he's keeping the troops in, Trump would have, bring all our troops home. But for some reason, the assessment that they had about the Taliban, taking months to take over was wrong. It seems like it's taking, days, weeks, if not days.
And I mean, the other thing that was wrong, let's go back 20 years, was the weapons of mass destruction. I remember Colin Powell speaking before the United Nations, talking about the reason we were going in was because of the weapons of mass destruction. That also came from, unfortunately, from U.S. intelligence. Yeah, I
right.
I'm my head a little bit. Like,
yeah, I'm so, and again, and it was a different type of administration. They were Republicans then.
Of course.
That was that HW, or that was which I mean, that's one, I think, of the worst policies that ever happened. I think that totally.
Well, getting back to what's going on now, they're absolutely right. The Taliban has been able to take over 3/4 of the area that we fought 20 years to hold on to.
Well,
I know that I saw Joe Lieberman today. I believe it was on Fox News, possibly with Maria Bartiromo, and he was appealing to President Biden to change his mind. That in fact, that we have troops in places like obviously South Korea, Japan, all variety of places, just to maintain.
But in those areas, we're not combat troops.
No.
I mean, in Afghanistan, we were combat troops. I think part of the deal was with the Taliban that they would not attack U.S. troops if we did. I think they had this deal with Trump that they wouldn't attack U.S. troops if we had a withdrawal plan. And according to Trump, we would. And the previous administration, we did have a withdrawal plan that Biden abided by. So that's nothing that they didn't agree with, that the, the Republicans and the Democrats didn't agree upon at one time. But how rapid that the Taliban is taking over is amazing, and I think it was totally miscalculated by our intelligence, which is very disappointed. But again, that's a period over years. The problem with our policy is, if our policy were, you can't go into Afghanistan to change it. The only way you change it is you get rid of all the people that are Afghanis and you move Americans in there. Maybe we'll put the homeless in there. I don't know.
I think that what we're good at doing is maintaining the peace. I think that's what our goal really should be, is maintaining the peace, so that you don't have some of the brutalization that we're now starting to see take place from the Taliban. The other thing I am very concerned about is that President Biden, and this is the way it was characterized on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, is that he was imploring and pleading with the Taliban not to hurt anybody at the embassy. And once again, I think that in the days of President Reagan, that many of these bullies, these country bullies, only understand the strength and not weakness. So it did concern me that we were begging the Taliban not to hurt anybody at the embassy. I mean, there's plans now, I hear, supposedly, I heard this on MSNBC this morning, that the Taliban plans on firebombing the U.S. Embassy on 9/11, which of course will be, what, the 20th anniversary of the tragedy at the World Trade Center.
Well, I hopefully that we do have people talking to them, because who is it? One of the Roosevelts is, speak softly but carry a big stick. I don't know whether that's Teddy or Franklin D. But
I think it was Teddy.
Teddy.
It was Teddy.
But hopefully that's what we're doing. I don't know. I'll let you know in a few weeks.
Yeah.
If they do something, because we still, it doesn't make a difference if we have troops or not. We have these, I think it's in Colorado, where we have the people controlling drones in the Air Force. The guys in bunkers in Colorado, that they have drones, up and down, Afghanistan and the Middle East, and all they have to do is program, bombs, and they could bomb the whole thing out. Or I remember at the beginning of, I think Russia tried to capture Afghanistan. They never did. They withdrew, and we did. And someone said, we're going to bomb Afghanistan back to the Stone Age. And another one says, look at them. They're in the Stone Age now.
They're already in the Stone Age.
They're in it because they're living out. They're living on the side of the hill in caves. So the question is, I don't know what to do about them. I mean, the only thing, maybe you can just keep a standing army there to control.
Well, I don't think that would be out of the ordinary, because once again, we have a standing army in South Korea.
But we're not. But they have an independent government, South Korea, the same way as Japan has an independent government. We're there to show force in case North Korea wanted to attack, or anyone else. Everybody wants to attack Japan.
No, we're there to keep peace. I think we can do the same thing. We can be there
in that region.
Afghanistan.
Well, the question is, I think we're saying we're there for the wrong reasons. We're saying there because we want to protect our interests, not that we want to change the whole culture of the country. Because I don't think you can.
Yeah.
Again, the only way you can change the culture is to move all of them out.
Did you catch the other Facebook post? I started to rethink, and maybe I was a little bit hasty in terms of the situation with globalism and what have you. I really started to rethink this whole migrant problem. Do you realize that we are literally draining from these countries, El Salvador, Guatemala, all the Latin American countries, many other countries, because people are coming in from other countries as well, but we're draining the workforce from those countries. How do we expect Guatemala to be able to come out of their economic malaise without workers? And we have such a wonderful package that these workers are flooding up here to the United States, and they'll get jobs up here, and they'll have jobs that will be far more far better than they figured that they can earn down in their own home country. But we're literally draining the workforce from many of these countries, and I don't know that that's really, I don't know that that's really fair.
Well, do you know who agreed with you?
Who?
The prime minister, I don't know, was the prime minister or president of El Salvador, Bukele. He said, I don't want my people to leave. I want the ones who can stay here and build our country. I don't want the bright and the strong to leave here. And they are.
That's exactly what's
happening. I want to, build our country up. The problem with, again, which I think Biden is starting a program, at least, not giving a foreign aid necessary to the government of these countries, but give it to groups that are helping the people. Because what happened, El Salvador is trying to right itself now. I mean, the problem is Bukele is almost becoming dictatorial, which you might need for that country, because the country, all these governments are totally corrupt. Especially you have Honduras.
Yeah,
Honduras, the president, is part of the cartel. I mean, they give him the money. His brother, I think, is was convicted in New York of drug dealing, and his wife is part of it also. So the question is, you have to give foreign aid smartly, not to people that are necessarily in the government.
Is Vice President Harris doing that? I mean, she talks about the root causes, but I've yet to see any real action and any real policy. I know that Vice President Harris apparently was the subject of an emergency meeting with many of the female Democratic leaders, and they're very concerned about Harris's unlikability, which unfortunately I think might have been a situation that took place also with Hillary Clinton.
Well, actually, I like her. I don't know.
Well, you might like her, but she's done nothing. She's done nothing.
We don't know what she's done. We don't know what things that she's done.
Well, we are paying her to do something, Malcolm.
Hey, in that phase, we should throw out the entire Congress. They're doing diddly squat.
Well, I'm going to just focus in on Vice President Harris.
They're taking a month off. That's what pisses me off. There's so many things to do, and they say, "Oh, we got to go back to our constituents." Their constituents are the American people. They're not necessarily the local people in their state, and they can do the campaigning if they're running. They don't have to do town hall meetings. They do the internet. They should be in Washington, putting together any type of legislation that has to be balled out. They should be 24/7 until they get so damn tired. They're going to give this. Okay, we quit. We'll give in. You give this, and I'll give that.
It seems to me.
We do
need. It's funny because we have Lindsey Graham and we have Tim Scott that's here, and I'm getting more politically involved, which has been very interesting. And the anger that is growing here, even in South Carolina, is palpable. Very angry folks saying, get something done and get it done for the people, not for yourselves. I mean, for example, this infrastructure bill, at least, 25% of it is going to be for, roads and bridges and what have you. But for example, these senators and these Congress people have got to get their funds in gear. This is ridiculous. Of course, this has been going on for decades.
Right.
But enough is enough. I think you're starting to see some real grass movements where people are starting to say, we're going to kick some.
Yeah, but who are they putting in? That's the question. Who would do to replacement? Originally, the concept of putting Donald Trump in was because he's not part of the system. He's going to, do the swamp.
Well, the problem is you can't use the example of Donald Trump because he's just much too much of a firebrand in terms of the issue, because people cannot divorce themselves from the accomplishments, which I have brought up and you agreed with, from the personality. People can't seem to do
but
that.
he's not, he knows diddly squat about running a country.
Yeah, but
that's
he did, but once again, we did have some accomplishments. Bottom line with this Congress and this Senate, I want to see some damn accomplishments. I want to see something done here.
Yeah, well, aside from number one, I want the Voting Act to be put through. I mean, it's what's happening now. I thought it's,
Well, the problem,
it's killing democracy.
Malcolm, you know, and I know you cannot federalize voting. It is in the Constitution that it is the states' rights to hold their own standards in terms of voting.
No, yes and no. They either set it up, but if they do something that's unconstitutional, it's up to the federal government to say no. A state cannot do it.
But HR 1 federalizes voting, and it's unconstitutional.
Yeah, but a state cannot do a law that's unconstitutional. They have to. Okay,
and
so
neither
what we did,
can Congress.
Okay, so let's do it to Congress and let the Supreme Court would judge it anyway, which is 6-3 conservative. The second thing, well, let me go down. The second thing which they have to do, they have to, number one, climate change. This is going to kill us all, whether we're right wing, left wing, in between wings. There's something we could do, and it's all the scientists have said, yeah, they said maybe we have a 10-year window to correct things.
Once again, the whole situation with climate change means that you have to get everybody in the dance. You cannot allow China not to be in the dance, or India not to be in the dance. We've got to have everybody in the dance. And I'll be doggone that the other thing that just throttled me this week was President Biden now begging OPEC, some of them who are not very friendly to the United States, but begging OPEC to pump more oil. We have oil here. We gave up our independence for climate change, Malcolm. And unfortunately, we now need the oil. So we're now having to go to people like Iran, like Russia, like China to get oil. OPEC were the people. Do you remember the 1970s with the gas lines? I don't know whether you remember it. I do.
Well, it wouldn't be that way dependent on gas if we have different type of vehicles that didn't depend on gas. But that's beside the point.
But if you're talking about, we're going around and around because we're talking about electric cars. I don't know about you, but I really don't want to have to pay $90,000 to $150,000 for a vehicle and then plug it into my electric bill here, because the electric bill basically is going to go sky high. So I think what's happening is that they would like this all to be able to go onto mass transit and or just stay at home. I don't know what the plan is.
Or would you rather the planet be destroyed?
What's that?
I mean, would you rather the planet be destroyed and we just continue with the oil-based and gas-based power?
I must say that I think it's wonderful to stand on the pedestal to talk about how the United States can cure the world. It can't.
No.
We need to have China on board, and they're not getting on board. They are now, in fact, starting to resurrect many of their coal-fired plants. They're doing that. So is India.
Well, so is the U.S. I was reading that last year the U.S. had more on coal, did more coal and oil-based energy than before. I think it was 25% increase. But the point being, yes, America can't do it alone. U.S. can't do it alone. But there has to have leadership. They can't say, "Oh, you're not going to do it. We're not going to do it." They are the ones that have to set the example if you want to do it, and be the leaders, and then get the other countries, the ones that are standing on the borderline, going to China and Russia and say, "Okay, you're not going to do it. We're going to give you penalties." But there has to be a leader. There can't be everybody says, "Oh no, you do it first. No, you do it first." The U.S. has to be the leader. But just wait.
We may have given up our leadership position.
Well, read the statistics. Read, as I say, read the science.
Yep.
The country where I think we went up 1.2 degrees Celsius, or
yeah, and it's primarily because you have people that are chopping down the Amazon forest. You have China.
But it's not even the Amazon. I was just reading where the fires are in the what is the boreal forest in Alaska and Siberia,
Mhm,
and they absorb 2/3 of the world's carbon dioxide.
mhm.
You know,
And
again,
so
okay,
what penalties are we asking Russia? No, we only seem to be penalizing ourselves, my dear, and that seems to be an
yeah, we're
issue.
not. Well, that's why there has to be an organization of the world. Again, it reminds me of the day the Earth stood still, the movie with Michael Rene. Uh,
Mhm.
like he's his thing was something different. His thing was I don't care. He came from another planet. He was part of the patrol thing, and his
Yeah.
thing is I don't care if you kill yourselves, but now you have the capabilities of bringing all these mass destruction weapons into space, and if you don't, you know, figure out how to live within your own planet, we're going to kill you. We're going to destroy you, the Earth. And
It sounds like a conversation I had with a couple of Republicans and some independent voters. They said the exact same thing about what's going on in the Democratic Party.
yeah, but the question is not the Democratic Party, it's the world. You said that you're a globalist. It's the world. The world is not, it's not destroying the US, it's not destroying Russia, it's not destroying China. It's destroying the world. Just read the papers.
But
Read like
we need to maintain strength here in America because we as a country have the most opportunity for people. We have been leaders for years and years, and
yeah,
to be able to be giving this up with such things as not being energy independent any
no,
longer.
yeah, but again, hate to say it, you're missing the point. The point is we're not Americans, we're not Chinese, we're not Russians, we're humans. We are all sharing the same planet. There has to be a way of cooperating. Again, I don't know how. If I knew how, I'd become president or I'd become dictator. I remember reading, I think it was Plato, and it was like if kings can't be, if philosophers can't become kings, kings should become philosophers. That's what we need. We need, which I always thought, a benevolent dictator. I think people, I mean, there are certain people that are alpha people, and there's certain people that want to be followers. And I think there are more people that want to be followers as long as they follow and their life is good. They don't care. But right now we have a situation. I have a show called Many Shades of Green.
Mhm.
The world is destroying itself, and if it doesn't,
Well, I must say
and it doesn't
that
make
you
a difference if
realize
you're an
statistically
American,
that the
US.
United States has reduced its carbon footprint by 25%. And in fact, according to the statistics, we are below the level that was mandated by the Paris Accords. Right now, we are below that level.
Okay, so let's get into our leadership thing and take this and go to the other countries and push it. Don't say, oh, some people say, are some people even denying the global warming. It's no denying it. You take a look at the weather. You read things that are happening, not only in this country, in Greece. They have the fires in
The
China.
fires are horrendous.
In China is where they're having the floods, and I forget where else they're unseasonal floods.
Mhm.
The world is destroying themselves. So you can't think of being, oh, gee, I'm an American, the United States. We're all the same because we're all going to kill ourselves. It doesn't matter whether you're American. It's sort of like,
but some credit has to be given to the United States. The United States has definitely reduced carbon
okay,
footprint. And each and every one of us can do our own role in doing things like these bloody water bottles. Forget it. That's ridiculous. And some of the
there ain't enough happening, and there has to be more happening. The same way with which I blame the Democratic Party and Trump is, why don't we make the vaccine mandatory? I mean, we know that the 99% of the
well,
people.
you know what would do it? Do you know what would do it? Because even the hospital, 45% of the hospital workers in New York City refused to take it. What would do it is if you had FDA approval. And that
I don't know if that would do it because deniers, vaccine deniers. I saw an interesting thing.
I don't think there are that many people that are vaccine deniers, but I have heard people are very concerned by the fact that the FDA has been holding back on giving full approval on this.
Yeah, I just got a message from a friend of mine, and
Hmm.
it was a guy, I guess it's a friend of theirs. I don't know who he was. He looked like he's probably like in his early 30s or
Sure.
mid 30s. And he said his wife has breast cancer,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and she was in the hospital, and she had to stay a few more days in the hospital. And
Okay.
they said they didn't have room for her, so she had to go home because they had no room.
That's
Why?
outrageous.
Because
That is outrageous.
because they had all the people with,
Transferred to another bloody hospital.
yeah,
That's outrageous.
they had all the people taking up the beds. She said 90% of the beds, or even 95, 99% of the beds were people with COVID. No, it was people with COVID were taking it, and 99% of the people with COVID weren't vaccinated. So like he said, I don't
Were any
care.
of them migrants coming up from the
No,
border?
no. He said, I don't care whether you're want to take the vaccine or not. But if you don't want to take the vaccine and you get COVID, stop going to the hospital. They're saying,
Mhm.
if you don't believe what the doctors say, that you should take the vaccine, why the hell are you going to the hospital? Why do you trust them to treat you?
Well,
And
once
his
again,
wife was sent home.
I think step number one has to be get the bloody FDA off their buns and get it fully approved. That's number one.
What was
Number
supposedly they do
two,
in September.
you know that part of that is coming from across the border. We now have a 40% infection rate from these poor migrants that are coming across the border, and they are then being transported across the country.
That's
I'm not
another.
understanding.
Well,
Why would that be? Why would that be happening? Why in the middle of a pandemic would you allow COVID infected individuals to come across the border, bust them,
As far as I
claim
know,
them?
they don't.
They
People,
do.
the-
Malcolm, I have seen it on CNN. I have seen it on MSNBC. They don't want to talk about it.
yeah, but it's not that they let it right now.
Journalists talking about it.
A problem is there's no control.
Well,
I
for
mean,
crying out loud, get your act together and get this thing controlled.
well, let's get some. Let's get some. When's the last time there was an immigration law?
What's that?
When's the last time we updated immigration?
Well, this has nothing to do with the immigration law.
Yeah,
This has to do with
does.
public health. Why are we allowing infected people to come across the border, whether it be south or north, coming across the border, and they are infected with COVID? Why are we allowing? We have mask mandates, we have calls for vaccine mandates, but there are no controls over individuals coming across.
Yeah,
into
there is. In
COVID.
fact, what I read in the LA Times today was about how a lot of the countries and are complaining about the U.S. Why? Because we're taking the people who ask for asylum in the U.S. We're giving them over to Mexico. We're not sending them back to their own countries. We're sending them to Mexico, and Mexico is sending them to the border of Guatemala to ship them back to the country of origin.
Well, I hope that somebody tells HHS Director Mayorkas that that's happening, because he did not indicate that yesterday during his press conference.
Well, this was a thing, and then they were the people of the UN type of people were saying, well, this is unheard of, because the people that's going back to are sent back to their own country are going to be killed. The question is, I don't know the answer. I know the answer is you can't send them back. Yeah, there has to be some sort of control, but you can't send them back. Again, going back to the thing, we're all human beings. We're not Americans. We're not Mexicans. We're not Guatemalans. We're all people.
And then as all human beings, why are we allowing people who are infected with COVID to come into this country while we're having another surge of COVID, and we're allowing infected individuals? Not only we allowing them across the border, but we're now busing and putting them on airplanes. That's
not necessarily true. That's also there is a certain amount, because a certain amount there's so many we don't have the controls. But the situation is
Malcolm, it's a pandemic. Why are we not approaching it as a pandemic? We have all kinds of controls for Americans, but we have no controls over
We have no controls for Americans. What controls do we have for Americans?
Well, you have vaccines, we have
But are you forcing
we have
people?
mask mandates that are now been imposed in
Except
New York, in San Francisco, and in Los Angeles. And those three cities, you actually, in order to get into a restaurant now, you have to show a vaccine.
How about Texas and Florida, which are the two
Well,
biggest,
you know what? You know what's
two biggest
interesting
increases?
in Florida?
Anyway,
You know what? No, let's one little thing.
I know you want to say that
Most of the migrants are coming into Texas. That's number one. And many of the migrants are being flown into Florida. And they also managed to, with Florida, with DeSantis, they ended up giving the wrong information in terms that they boosted the number of hospitalizations in Florida. Why? Once again,
I have an idea.
Politics.
Anyone that comes over the border, let's shoot them.
Absolutely. But we're letting them go.
We'll kill them. We'll take it. We'll build Trump's wall, and we'll on our side of it.
Trump out of this, for crying out loud. He's already gone. So you can't.
Oh no, yeah. Well, no, he's not gone. He's still trying to.
You cannot use Trump as an excuse.
Oh, by the way,
he's standing on his own.
Did you see Mike Lindell and his symposium, his 2-day? He's going around saying how
Mike Lindell has every reason to say whatever he wants to say. It has nothing to do with anything.
No. But
bottom line is what has been wrought at this point right now, the crime, the pandemic, the situation with not having gasoline prices starting to crest $3 and $4 and $5. That is all on the plate of President Biden.
I hate to tell you this, Deborah, we're talking about 45 minutes already.
Oh, good.
I didn't want to end the conversation.
I know, it's so good.
But we're on 45. Anyway, keep all your thoughts.
I will.
We'll repeat this again next Friday.
Yep.
And if all your people here, let us know how you feel and which side you are.
Please do. And like I say, if folks would go onto Facebook, I'm Deborah Manning, Deborah Manning Fisher. My married name is Fisher. I honestly want to know that the answer to that question.
Right. Or go to malcolmpresents@gmail.com and let us know how you feel. So, I can get, people behind me, and Deborah can get people behind her, and we'll be an old-fashioned thing. We'll get into armor. Wait a minute.
We're all Americans here.
No. Again, I think we have to be, we're all humans.
Mm-hmm.
We're all people. We share the same.
I adore you, Malcolm. We have differences of opinion, but we do need to keep talking the way we're talking, and it's very, very important.
Send my love to Fish.
I will. My love to Anna.
And stop your cat from going, gallivanting around.
Oh, he loves his girlfriend.
I know, but I mean, and check with the vet that he spayed, because all of a sudden,
really,
you see little cats there. Bye.
Surprise. Bye.